So.
And now we are gliding right into book club.
I've got a good mind to join the club and beat you over the head with it.
All right. Now today, as per the guest we had on a little earlier and still in the studio, I'm reviewing Dearie, The Remarkable Life of Julia Child by Bob Spitz. I don't know, I don't know very much about this guy, Bob Spitz, but as a cultural biographer, his writing's very lively. It's very much in the same vein as Charles Learson's Blood and Smoke that we talked about on a previous show. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of great attention to detail, a lucid analysis of the culture of the day. And he talks extensively, pretty well in detail. It's not just about Julia Child; it's about public TV at the time.
Oh wow!
Which if you have any interest in radio and television history, and I know from tweeting, I see a lot of people that do. It's actually pretty interesting to see how public TV really kind of got started as a result of Julia Child's imagination, creativity, you name it. When I was a teenager in the 1980s, the Julia Child as cult figure had already been pretty well established. But I didn't realize that she really had practically led an entire lifetime the years before her appearance on television. And I guess partly because public and commercial TV started to close the divide between them in the 1980s. For one thing, I didn't realize that she was a secretary under Wild Bill Donovan.
That's cool.
He was the guy that led the OSS, and that's the precursor to the CIA. And as a result, she was able to travel all around the world. She had the security clearances and all that, and she was privy to a lot of top secret information. And
wow,
so
that was very popular.
I bet you were. Well, and I bet it was very easy for you to get secrets, just being able to talk to people, and they were very comfortable with you.
They talk a lot whenever you're making them food. They just don't like shutting up.
Well, and especially when you serve them a really good Chateau LeBlanc, or is that what it's called?
Chateau LeBlanc, yes.
Thank you. So would you like some more with that, sweetie?
So I mean that's basically what I got to say. I mean I'm not all the way. Once again, I'm not all the way through the book. I don't think I've finished a book in probably a year now. But
but you get enough to be able to tell us.
I get plenty. Yeah, yes. I get plenty. And then, but I would give it 4 stars. I think it's packed with a lot of good details and gives a very fair and balanced way of looking at Julia Child. Mm-hmm. You wanted to mention something about
I do. Well,
Rush
before
Limbaugh.
I do, I have a question for Miss Child. You had a wonderful, touching moment with a Nancy Silverton, I think it was.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And so, but she was on your show and she was cooking a brioche, and the tears were so sweet.
That food was very hot. It was so hot, it made me tear up, yes.
Oh, is that what it was? Oh, the secret's out. Oh, my. Oh, good. But still, it was it was a good dessert, though.
Oh, it was a dessert worth crying over.
Wonderful. Beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, funny how these things happen, isn't it?
Well, I wanted to bring up now. This is one of those times where I'm not the one who read the book. This was it's called Rush, Revere, and the Brave PIlgrims. Now, normally I'm not one to jump on the bandwagon bus because it is Rush Limbaugh, and so it's kind of like, okay, is this book popular because it's Rush or because of the cheesy photography? I mean, the negatives I have to give, and I will get to the positives here because the positives outweigh the negative. But there is some really, really, really cheesy photoshopping going on here. I mean, it's amazing how cheesy the photoshopping is. And it is, and he says, rush, rush, rush all the time. So there's absolutely no self-promotion going on in this book at all whatsoever.
You wouldn't expect that. Who would expect that from Rush Limbaugh?
Miss Child, meet Mr. Rush Limbaugh.
Lovely, dear.
Want a cigar?
Would you like a cake?
I'll take 3.
I don't think you need it.
Yes.
And we're back. So that being said, now I have read like the beginning, and I've read into the first chapter. And what this book is about a guy named Rush Revere, who is a substitute teacher who really, really loves history. And he always dresses in like early, like 17th century type garb. And so he's not your normal, average, typical, think Gwyneth Paltrow on Glee, that kind of substitute teacher. And he has a horse that enables him to time travel. And that's actually what catches the kids' attention that read this book. It is a book that is intended really more for like tweens. And especially if you're like my daughter who loves horses. And so I knew this book was a winner when, first of all, I just started hearing about people, it's like, oh yes, my child has read it. And then my next door neighbor, who their child is like 7 years old, she, her dad read the book to her and she loved it. And so finally I got this, Susie got the book for Christmas, and she just takes one look at it. She's like, it's history, and tosses it to the side. I'm like, okay, you have read history and you have liked it. Yeah, but, anyways. So finally I read the book and I read about the first chapter in. I was like, you do realize this is about a horse? And she just looks at me. She's like, why didn't you tell me that in the first place? Snatches the book and reads it. I'm not kidding. 2 nights flat. Would have read it in less if I had not caught her about 2 a.m. So it really is that good of a book that, and she's not the only one. I mean, this is the kind of book you catch kids in the middle of the night reading under the covers with a flashlight. It captures, he did a really amazing, either he did an amazing job or he had a really good ghostwriter. I'm not really sure. But whoever wrote the book did an amazing job capturing the kids' imagination. And it's really cool because he goes back in time. If I could read, go back in time to experience the Mayflower voyage firsthand and ask the people who were there, why do you want to leave Europe? Who's your leader on the Mayflower? How many people are on this ship? What food do you eat on board? Where do you sleep? Does the ocean make you seasick? And the answer to that in the first chapter is yes. What will you do when we finally see land from the deck? And so he utilizes this book to educate our children about our history. And I think he might write another one. I'm not sure, but this was a project that he'd been wanting to do for a long time. Not necessarily this specifically, but he's been waiting to write another book because he didn't want to write just another Rush Limbaugh book. He wanted to be something that would truly affect our country in a very positive way. And it took him years to figure out, what can I do? Until one day he was talking with someone and he said, well, why don't you just write a children's book? And then, time passed and this is what it was. So my daughter would give this a flying 5 stars. I gave it 4.5 because of the bad photoshopping. But all in all, get your kid this book. It's, from what I understand, it's a really good book, and it's very educational and a very fun read.
Yeah,
and the horse rocks.
Thunder is 12, and
that's right.
Pulls the Skank's Tail is 6, and I'm with you. I read the first few sentences of it, and I was like, yeah, whatever.
It's cheesy, but it's fun cheesy.
And but my wife, Righteous Owl, is reading it to the both of them, and the both of them are just eating it up. So yeah,
exactly.
Right. I'm glad you liked the book.
I'm glad you wrote it, Mr. Limbaugh.
Would you like for me to write another one?
I'd love for you to write. My daughter would love for you to write another one.
I just might have to do that.
You might have to do that.
I'll get started on that right away.
Yes, and would you finally answer my email about an interview? I tried.
No, I don't do interviews.
Okay.